Welcome to Retail Pricing Unlocked, the podcast powered by InsightTrack. With over 15 years of experience supporting retailers, we share expert insights and strategies to help you turn pricing into a competitive advantage. Now, here's today's episode.
Retail pricing.
Yeah.
It used to be this sort of back office function, didn't it? Just a necessary bit of number crunching.
Absolutely.
But today, it's right up there at board level. It's visible, it's influential, a key driver of performance.
It is.
And with that exposure comes this intense executive pressure. It often results in what we're calling pricing anxiety for the C-suite.
That's a great way to put it.
So today, we're taking a focused look at how retailers can overcome that anxiety.
Yeah.
And the idea is to replace a siloed pricing team with something more robust, a confident pricing culture. To help us get to grips with this, I'm joined by the InsightTrack consultant. Thanks for making the time.
It's great to be here. And that shift is so essential because, as you say, pricing anxiety, it isn't just an emotional thing for an executive. It's a real organizational, cultural, and commercial vulnerability. The pressure just escalates because in modern retail, data moves, well, instantaneously.
Yeah.
But so many internal processes are still lagging days, maybe even weeks behind. And that fragmentation, that's what really undermines confidence. So our mission today is to explore the root causes of that breakdown and show how building a cohesive culture is really the only sustainable way to manage pricing strategically.
That really clarifies the challenge. It's that feeling of being constantly on the back foot. For the C-suite, I imagine this stress must boil down to a few key problems. If we zoom in, what are the, say, three primary culprits driving this anxiety?
When we speak to retail leaders, it's interesting. Their lack of confidence nearly always traces back to three strategic deficits.
Okay.
The first, and maybe the most immediate one, is missed margin, and that feeling of having no control.
Right.
Executives are, as you can imagine, highly attuned to margin leakage. They don't see it as some minor operational hiccup.
No, they'll see it as a strategic failure.
A strategic failure. Imagine a retailer has complex rules for regional pricing, but without real-time tracking, they might be, too competitive in one micro-market, leaving money on the table while being completely uncompetitive in another.
So it's not just about losing the margin itself, it's that feeling that they should have known, that the system they trust just isn't working as it's meant to.
That's it. We often see just a handful of unmonitored price gaps. Maybe a competitor launches a surprise deep promotion, and that can quickly spiral into missed forecasts.
And if you don't catch that shift within hours,
the missed opportunities compound, creating real pressure from investors, from the board. So the fix really is all about visibility. When leaders can move from just knowing their final margin number to having clear insight into how and where it's gained or lost, they shift. They go from reactive explanations to proactive, informed adjustments, and that reliable insight that immediately reduces the anxiety.
That visibility does sound like it should be table stakes. But I suppose even with systems in place, many organizations are just swimming in data they don't trust.
Oh, absolutely. Which brings us neatly to the second pillar of anxiety.
Which is?
Unreliable data. This is arguably the biggest source of institutional pricing anxiety. If the data foundation is shaky, inconsistent product matching, glaring gaps in competitor coverage, reports that are outdated by the time they land on your desk,
then leaders just can't trust the numbers.
They can't, and I can see how that just paralyzes an executive team. If the basic truth about the market is questionable, every single decision that follows is delayed.
It just invites endless debate and second-guessing, I'd imagine.
It does. When that trust in the data evaporates, decisions stall, strategies lose momentum, and the whole organization starts losing ground. And think about the resource cost. You have teams spending half their week just manually checking data points that a validated, automated system should have given them instantly.
So to move forward with conviction,
the data has to be high quality, trusted, and above all, complete. A solution, for instance, shouldn't just scrape prices. It needs combined methods, automated intelligence with human validation to ensure that the product match is correct, the figure is accurate. When the C-suite knows their data reflects reality, they can finally act with precision rather than spending their time managing data integrity worries.
That speaks volumes about conviction. That even with perfect data, you still need speed. Which leads us to that third deficit, the struggle for pace.
Yes, the third factor is slow reaction times. The retail market operates in microseconds. Competitors launch promotions, they adjust prices, they shift assortments hourly.
And executives expect their own organization to be just as agile.
Of course they do. The frustration is huge when they can clearly see a risk or an opportunity, but they're held back by slow, legacy systems and rigid manual workflows.
I often hear this described as trying to catch a moving train. You know where it is, you know where it's going, but you can't get your operation to accelerate fast enough to jump on board.
That's a perfect analogy. That organizational inertia, it just stops leaders from capitalizing on market shifts. And agility is the only remedy for this. Decision speed increases dramatically when data flows seamlessly without bottlenecks. And this is key, when the reporting formats align with how different teams already work.
So it's not one size fits all.
Not at all. This is where technical flexibility becomes a strategic imperative. A revenue management team might need immediate API feeds for automated dynamic adjustments.
Right.
But a category manager who is focused on a specific product group, they need that intelligence visualized in a clear Power BI report or maybe a detailed Excel report for their weekly strategy meetings. It's that operational agility built by tailoring the delivery that ultimately builds strategic confidence at the top.
Okay, so we've identified the core issues: margin leakage, unreliable data, and slow systems. It's clear the solution isn't just buying one piece of software. It has to involve a fundamental reframing of how the whole organization sees price. Which brings us to the central idea: moving from a pricing function to a pricing culture. Why does that cultural shift offer a real competitive advantage?
Well, the failure of the pricing function really lies in its isolation. When pricing is just confined to one specific team, it might be technically efficient in its own silo.
But it's disconnected from everything else.
Dangerously disconnected from the broader commercial strategy. Pricing analysts, for example, might be optimizing margins perfectly, but then the marketing team runs a promotion that completely undermines all their efforts because the two teams just aren't speaking the same language.
That sounds like internal friction costs you more than the external competition does.
It absolutely does. A functional approach makes pricing reactive. It becomes something that just happens to the business, and that often leads to internal blame games. A pricing culture, however, that transforms pricing into a mindset, a shared responsibility. It permeates every commercial touchpoint: finance, marketing, category management, operations. It fosters an environment where data, collaboration, and market insight shape every commercial decision. Pricing becomes this coordinated discipline reflecting a unified intent, not a fragmented response.
Can you give us a concrete example of that cohesion? What does, say, a CFO gain when the category manager and the marketing VP start sharing a pricing culture?
The CFO gains performance stability. In a pricing culture, there's mutual understanding.
Right.
So the marketing team understands that when they design a major promotion, they have to factor in the real-time margin impact to safeguard the financial goal. And the category manager understands how their assortment choices affect the customer's perceived value and price elasticity. So they aren't trying to force an aggressive price on a product the market just doesn't value that highly.
I see. So the internal alignment means the external message is consistent.
It's always consistent, and it always reflects the brand's intent. And that consistency builds trust. Price is arguably the most visible signal a retailer sends. If your internal pricing is inconsistent, your external message to the customer is confusing and, frankly, untrustworthy.
That's a really powerful insight. It confirms that the human element, the collaboration, is just as critical as the technology. So if the C-suite buys into this, if they want to build this cultural confidence, what are the practical structural cornerstones they must put in place?
You have to structure the whole process around maximizing that confidence to act decisively. We tend to detail this using 3 non-negotiable cornerstones.
Okay.
The first one is always data confidence. This is the bedrock. You simply cannot skip it. It requires having trusted, validated information flowing from a dedicated, enterprise-grade retail price tracking solution.
A single source of truth.
A single verified source of truth. Without that, teams spend all their valuable time debating methodologies and checking numbers instead of making strategic decisions. We see it all the time. A retailer using 5 different spreadsheets to track the same competitor, and all 5 show different numbers.
That kills confidence instantly.
Instantly.
And the second cornerstone, I assume, addresses that problem of data getting locked away in one department.
That's right. The second is communication and accessibility. Pricing data is useless if it's siloed. It has to flow freely between teams. And you achieve this through connected systems, clear reporting, and accessible dynamic dashboards. This transparency is crucial because it stops duplication of effort, eliminates confusion, and it turns the data into a shared language for everyone.
So it's the difference between sending a static PDF report once a week versus having a live dashboard everyone can look at in a meeting.
Exactly that.
And that transparency then feeds the agility we talked about earlier, which brings us to the third cornerstone, making sure the process is flexible enough to actually get adopted.
The final cornerstone is flexibility. We touched on this, but it's so vital for cultural adoption. A unified pricing process has to adapt to the existing workflows of different teams.
You can't force everyone to use the same tool in the same way.
You can't. You can't force the finance team, who rely on rigorous numerical analysis, to adopt the same interface as the merchandise team, who might need visual category comparisons. So flexibility means offering multiple delivery methods, Excel packs for budgeting, Power BI integration for trend analysis, and direct API feeds for operational systems. That flexibility is what makes the data usable, and usable data is the primary driver of adoption and cultural success.
And when you combine that trusted data foundation with flexible delivery and accessibility, well, that's where the real-time adjustments and that proactive reporting solution become possible. It sounds like the system finally serves the strategy instead of the other way around.
Absolutely. When this system is in place, the whole organization moves from a reactive scramble to a proactive reporting solution. Teams are working from a shared strategic understanding of the market, which allows them to focus on opportunity identification rather than constant risk mitigation.
Let's look at the tangible payoffs then. Once this cultural shift is complete, once pricing is a shared, trusted capability, what are the biggest measurable business benefits that the C-suite actually feels?
The benefits are profound, and they are immediate. First, you get faster decisions. Teams can act in hours, not days, because they trust the underlying data and the logic of the system.
Okay.
Second, greater profit consistency. That shared visibility allows for proactive adjustments, protecting margins without making unnecessary sacrifices on competitiveness.
And what about the internal dynamic?
You see substantially better cross-functional collaboration. The conversation inside the organization just changes fundamentally. Well, instead of these defensive, siloed debates like, why did you change this price without telling us, the focus shifts to a much more productive question. Based on this real-time data, how can we collectively improve the outcome?
That shift must build enormous trust and accountability.
It does. And critically, we see the external benefit manifest in improved customer perception.
Right.
Consistency and fairness in pricing build loyalty. A retailer with a strong pricing culture delivers clear, stable prices that align perfectly with their advertised value proposition. When customers feel they're being treated fairly, they see a stable pricing structure, and that builds long-term trust.
So it's clear that technology is the engine, but confidence is built on these human elements. Shared understanding, consistent communication, and accountability.
That's the key distinction. Technology provides the data, but it's human interpretation that turns that data into meaningful action. So many leadership teams get frustrated when complex systems produce stacks of insights that just lack context or fail to translate into actionable steps. And this is why partnership is so critical. We work closely with the pricing, category, and commercial teams to interpret the data, to highlight specific opportunities, and deliver clear guidance that aligns with their goals. This ensures that executives receive understanding, the strategic context, the so what not just mountains of raw information. When teams can communicate clearly and proactively, pricing finally becomes that stable strategic function the C-suite needs, rather than a constant source of organizational stress.
Pricing is inherently high pressure, isn't it? It sits right at that intersection of revenue and competition. But I suppose that pressure doesn't have to manifest as anxiety.
It doesn't.
When leaders are properly equipped with visibility, accuracy, and speed, pricing transforms into a strategic asset for growth and market leadership. The journey from anxiety to confidence relies on three essentials: trusted data, agile delivery, and deep collaborative support. If pricing feels like a source of stress in your organization, whether that's unreliable competitor data, slow reaction times, manual processes, or a culture that's unsure how to use pricing strategically, you're not stuck with it. And if you're looking for support, InsightTrack specializes in helping retailers move from pricing anxiety to pricing confidence. With accurate competitor tracking, reliable product matching, smart automation, flexible reporting, and hands-on partnership, InsightTrack gives retailers the foundations they need to build a confident pricing culture, not just a pricing function.
When pricing operations move beyond that fragmentation and achieve this level of efficiency and clarity, leaders can really move from concern to confidence, turning pricing complexity into a clear path for growth.
That distinction complexity becoming clarity is a brilliant way to wrap this up. Thank you for walking us through this critical shift in retail strategy today.
My pleasure.
And to you, our listener, we hope this overview provides a roadmap for transforming your own organization's approach to pricing. We look forward to exploring more commercial strategies with you soon.
You've been listening to Retail Pricing Unlocked, brought to you by InsightTrack. For more resources, case studies, and expert support, visit insighttrack.com. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and join us again next week.